Imagine this scenario. A spreading tick-borne syndrome is dismantling American food security and medical readiness from inside our own forests. You took the kids hiking last weekend. You walked the back fence line in shorts. You let the dog run in tall grass. A bite mark you never saw is coming to rewrite your blood chemistry. The freezer full of beef in your garage is starting to look like a liability. The bottle of capsules in your medicine cabinet is starting to look like a weapon. Tonight I roll the tape, name the trap, and walk you through 3 moves to slip it before the bite you can't remember puts your family in an ER. Welcome to Chris Heaven SDN Reacts for Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. I'm Chris Heaven, the CEO of Survival Dispatch. Bottom line up front, a spreading tick-borne syndrome is dismantling American food security and medical readiness from inside our own forests. And the Lone Star tick is climbing north and west into states that have never seen it before. One bite can permanently strip a person of the ability to eat red meat, take common medications, or receive standard medical treatment. Your protein stockpile and your medicine cabinet are the 2 pillars most families never think twice about, and a tick the size of a sesame seed can knock both of them out without you ever knowing it happened. Before I roll the stack of videos, I'm going to cover on alpha-gal. I want to talk to you about something that lines up with everything you're about to see. Because what the tick is doing to the American protein supply, China's been doing to the American defense supply for nearly a decade. And one company is doing something about it. Every jet, every tank, and almost every piece of munitions in the U.S. arsenal contains tungsten. And America hasn't mined a single ounce of it commercially since 2015. That's a strategic supply chain ripped out from under our military, the same way alpha-gal is ripping the protein supply out from under your kitchen. President Trump signed Project Vault, a $12 billion critical mineral stockpile plan to break foreign dominance and rebuild domestic production. That's where Vault Strategic Mining comes in. Trading as KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the U.S., Vault is revitalizing historic American tungsten mines in mining-friendly states with a flagship project in Nevada that once operated under a World War II defense minerals contract. What helped defend the free world then is being brought back to secure American sovereignty now. Learn more at vaultstrategic.com or hit the link in the description below. Special thanks to Vault Strategic Mining for making today's video possible. All right, so what I'm covering tonight, and golly, believe that? I just clicked on the damn wrong thing. See, this is the problem when you're blind in one eye. I can only see from here to here, and that's my screen that I need to click on. I can't see it, so I'm kind of guessing at times where I put my mouse. So anyway, what I'm covering tonight, I'm rolling a stack of clips tonight showing the spread, the science, and the strategic angle nobody's talking about. Then I'm naming the X, and I'm going to walk you through 3 moves to get off the X, right now. So first video, obviously Joe Rogan, as you can see on screen. And in this video, Joe explains how one Lone Star tick bite injects alpha-gal and triggers a lifelong red meat allergy with anaphylaxis hours after a meal. Let's listen to this video from Joe. It's a short one.
He got bit by that tick that makes you allergic to red meat.
Is it all red meat or processed red meat?
It's animal meat. It's mammal meat. That's the thing. You could eat some fish. Some people can eat fish. Some people can eat chicken. He's broken it down to only eating eggs right now. That's how bad it is. He's getting all of his protein from eggs, which is a great source of protein, no doubt. But
that's exhaustingly boring, though.
Yeah, exhaustingly boring. No kidding. So bottom line is that a single tick bite injects this alpha-gal molecule and rewires your immune system against red meat permanently. 450,000 Americans, or 450,000 plus Americans, are already carrying it. And the CDC openly admits the count is undercounted. Shocking. Surprise. Anaphylaxis hits hours later, not minutes. So most victims never connect the bite to the reaction. So at the end of the day, this short video from Joe Rogan, you know, it gives you the lay of the land on this particular topic. And I would say that because his reach is so big, that video on Joe's part probably reached more people than the CDC could ever wish to reach. So let's move on to the next one here. Now this is a wonderful one here, in case you haven't seen this or heard of this guy. So this is basically a WEF, World Economic Forum bioethicist, and he's talking human engineering. And basically this guy, he's from NYU, bioethicist Matthew Lau, discusses human engineering proposals to induce red meat intolerance modeled on alpha-gal. So, you know what, I'm going to comment on it more after we play the video. It's a minute long.
So I'll give 2 examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption of meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, you know, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance, and some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
Through human engineering. I mean, these guys at the WEF live in a different world. And I don't know who elected him or Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that he mentioned the Lone Star tick long before this current episode kind of unfolded is really telling. And I tell people all the time, you got to listen to what people are telling you. They're telling you exactly who they are. And at the end of the day, like, this tick, genetically modified by somebody in that chain of money kings like Bill Gates, is doing the dirty work for their plan to basically depopulate the world, and they'll start with the food first. Not to mention the fact you can't fight if you're hungry, especially if you're malnourished. So let's move on to the next one here. So this one's pretty crazy here. This is a farmer's report finding boxes of Lone Star ticks dropped on their land, with claims tying the ticks to genetically modified releases and lab-grown meat investors. So that's the key, by the way, is that you get bit by this tick. You can't tolerate any meat from mammals after that point. But, oh, miracle of miracles, you can tolerate bioengineered, biocultivated meat, which is grown in labs. And if you haven't come across it yet, it's absolutely disgusting. 46-second video here.
They can no longer eat animals. Who stands to gain from genetically modifying ticks to make you allergic to red meat? Bill Gates genetically modified ticks in order to give people alpha-gal. Alpha-gal syndrome causes people to be allergic to red meat. People that live out in the country say this is the worst tick season they've ever seen. Coincidentally, farmers have been finding these boxes of ticks in their fields, randomly dropped onto their farms. Ticks are running around extremely fast because they're genetically modified. Farmer in Appalachia had a helicopter carrying this long line. The helicopter did 2 different passes. You can see it's carrying some weird box-looking object. Here we have a different scene. This appears to be hundreds of different boxes being dropped via parachute. This isn't just a crime against humanity, it's a crime against nature, because if all these predatory animals eat other animals to survive, what if they get some sort of food allergy to eating animals, and then they can...
You couldn't ask for a better engineered solution from what these guys want. And again, I don't know who elected them. It's a rhetorical question. Nobody elected them, but basically this is not the only report of this. You got boxes of these Lone Star ticks being dropped on private farmland across the country. And it's being dropped in places where the tick never lived before. It wasn't endemic per se. And there's all these claims. Now, let's just leave them at claims for the time being, that connects these engineered tick releases to Bill Gates' lab teams and his lab-grown meat portfolio. So whether or not you believe the lab origin or not, there's a lot of lines that point back towards him and others. So at the end of the day, this overlap between this illness, alpha-gal, and these mysterious boxes of ticks showing up is very, very suspect, like absolutely suspect. So I just mentioned lab-grown meat. Well, let's have a closer look at that one. So here you go. This is a quick explainer on connecting Lone Star tick spread and alpha-gal syndrome to Bill Gates' investments in lab-grown meat as the substitute product. Let's watch this. It's very short, 16 seconds.
Then I realized what it is.
Oof.
There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it. Then I realized what it is.
So not exactly an in-depth video, but the point is still made that, number one, these Lone Star ticks are expanding their range. It used to be something typically in the southeast. Now it's spreading across the country. I just saw a report that it's actually into Canada now. Then you connect that to Bill Gates holding significant stakes, in lab-grown and cultured meat companies, just wonderfully positioned to fill the gap, right? And, I don't know. There's a lot of lines drawing this back to Bill Gates. Bill Gates, not a good person. I won't go into this at length, but there was a time when I used to deliver keynote speeches on behalf of Sun Microsystems, and I spoke out against Bill Gates and Microsoft at length. For those of you who don't remember, he was convicted under the Sherman antitrust laws back in the day because he went to all of the computer manufacturers. So, you're talking HP, Compaq before they merged, IBM, etc., etc. And basically what he said is, every computer that you ship, you're going to pay me $50 for a license for Microsoft Windows, whether you install Microsoft Windows on those computers or not. And if you don't do that, well, then you're going to have to pay $150 per license per machine that actually ships with it. You're talking 5, 6, 7 gross margins for companies back then in PCs. Dell would be a great example as well. That $150 versus their competitors at $50 would have destroyed their companies. And, like I say, Bill Gates was convicted under that. Microsoft was convicted under that. Let's move into the next one here. There's a little bit more here, and I'll just read the top part to you. So Bill Gates bioengineered ticks and the alpha-gal trap. Bioengineered Lone Star ticks in metal tick boxes are being dropped across farms. You can't make this up. And woods. Golly. And, they swarm animals. They swarm humans. The end result is you got hundreds of thousands of Americans now have this alpha-gal syndrome, a permanent deadly allergy to real red meat. No more steak, burgers, or bacon. This person says it's not a coincidence. Gates funded tick research. Now Pfizer rolls out a new Lyme disease vaccine right as this explodes. Create the crisis. No real meat possible. Sell the solution, the lab-grown Franken meat, as she says here, and ends with, wake up, this is engineered, protect our food, expose the agenda. 1 minute, 25 seconds. This video does a better job than the last one as far as explaining this.
My top plot, and I saw this little guy. I don't know if he's alive or he's got ticks all over his head and eyes. I mean, look at that. On his ears. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do.
I'm out here mushroom hunting and I found, there it is right there, the tick box. I'm not going to touch it because there's ticks all over that thing. I know there is. Look at them crawling out of it. Millions of them.
There are 450,000 Americans with alpha-gal syndrome from these bioengineered ticks from this fucking psychopath right here. And they can no longer eat red meat for their entire lives. And this is not normal, guys. It's not normal for these massive moose to be covered in tens of thousands of ticks, literally killing them in Canada, or snakes covered in hundreds of ticks in Australia being killed once again. All this is happening right before they're coming out with a new Lyme disease vaccine. It's just the 101 of their playbook, guys. Engineer the problem and then the solution.
Yeah, it's very, very well said on his part there. The next one that I had queued up here is actually a repeat. It got by me by mistake. But I do want to read what the person said around this video. Nothing says purely theoretical like NYU bioethicist Matthew Lau discussing hypothetical human engineering ideas. This was 2012. I forgot to mention that earlier. 2012 paper including inducing intolerance to red meat and references to Lone Star tick in relation to alpha-gal syndrome. I mean, holy crap. I mean, that's going back 14 years ago, and he was making these comments. So, you know, we watched this video towards the beginning here, but if that's not a direct on-camera, you know, confession, I don't know what is. I mean, he seemed like he was giddy about it, right? And so he mentions the Lone Star ticks. He mentions the, you know, the mechanism of spreading alpha-gal. I think when, you know, the academic establishment publishes the playbook and nobody pushes back, this stuff is bound to unfold this way. It's not a conspiracy meme. This is a credentialed academic on camera discussing the same outcome the tick produces naturally as an engineering, you know, objective. So, I mean, golly. Anyway, with that being said, let me move on to the next one here. So, this is pretty crazy. Deer swarming with Lone Star ticks goes viral. Seems to be boxes of weaponized ticks being dropped from the sky. They can now give you a deadly meat allergy called alpha-gal syndrome. So basically, if memory serves me right, this one is coverage on these weaponized Lone Star tick claims. You know, reports of box drops, deer covered in swarms of these ticks, expansion of AGS, which, by the way, I want to mention that I know two people now, one in North Georgia, one in Tennessee, who've been bit by these ticks, one of whom a few days later, he didn't realize he was even bit by the tick. He had a steak and he went into anaphylactic shock. His, you know, airways swelled closed, had to be rushed to the ER to be saved. I mean, this is the real deal. Like, this stuff is really happening. 29 seconds. Look at the ticks on this poor thing. And I've seen actually videos that are much worse than this. The on-screen caption, in case you can't read it, deer crawling with ticks is nightmare fuel. It's also a warning. Did you see that? And that's typically where they like to go, by the way, those creases in between skin. They absolutely love going in there. But this is just, it's absolutely nightmare stuff. I mean, golly. All right, moving on to the next one here. So I got a couple videos queued up from this guy. He got bit once, made him allergic to red meat, and now you got over 450,000 people are allergic. 51-second video.
My question I ask you is, what fucking surface, what purpose do ticks have? Look at my face and my neck. I can't eat red meat anymore. I can't have any animal byproducts in anything. And it's in everything. This is alpha-gal syndrome. This is fucked up, man. Fuck ticks. I love to go hiking. This is fucking crazy.
So apologies for the NSFW language there, but at the end of the day, there's a first-hand account. There's multiple ones. You know, if you go looking for this stuff, you'll find a gazillion people that are recording similar experiences. And at the end of the day, yes, there was some profanity in that video, but I think that's going to hit harder myself than any warning from the CDC. So let's move on to the next one quickly here. Same guy, same video. So I'm just going to read what Concerned Citizen has to say. This U.S. man got bitten by a tick and now can no longer eat meat. Coincidentally, this man will have to eat lab-grown meat, which Bill Gates is invested in. Bill Gates also invested in hundreds of millions in genetically modified ticks. Holy crap. I mean, it doesn't get any crazier here. So this last one here, I'm not going to play this video. It's 16 minutes long. But in this video, and I'm going to share the link, it'll be in the description down below. Basically, he walks through this process, this lady, she had alpha-gal, and she did a bunch of different remedies, and she finally found something that worked, or at least according to this lady, worked. So at the end of the day, I don't know if it works or not. The shots that he mentioned in this are super expensive. Like, this is not a cheap fix. It's something to file away for future reference, though. And maybe we find, more people start to get cured by taking these alternative deals. I don't know. What I do know is that this is a pretty crazy situation. Let me just quickly read what he has to say before we wrap this up. So there are reportedly tick outbreaks all over the U.S. right now, and a significant rise in alpha-gal syndrome, also known as the red meat allergy. This is something to consider. Alpha-gal is completely fixable using Bovista 200 combined with Lycopodium 200 plus Arsenicum album twice daily. So again, I'll put the link in the description so that y'all can, look into that, file it away. Maybe it's going to work at some point in the future. So that's the stack of videos for this reacts. But let me show you what each of those clips are actually pointing at. So every clip we just watched, points at the same vulnerability. It's not the tick. It's not the headline. It's what the tick exposes about how your household is set up to survive. The X in this particular case is a population stripped of its protein supply and pharmaceutical compatibility before the first shot of a real crisis is ever fired. I mean, look at your freezer right now. Probably 80% of most people's freezers are full of beef, pork, lamb, all these mammal type products. So you're carrying a single point of failure risk. You get bit by this thing, all the preps that you paid a lot of money for and you put away, useless to you. Then go look at your medicine cabinet. A lot of antibiotics and capsules contain, mammal derived ingredients that light you up if the tick has already got you. So now you're built preparedness on the assumption that these two stacks would still function on day one of whatever's, coming, at any, apocalyptic type of event, SHTF event. So basically a parasite the size of a sesame seed can invalidate both of those prep stacks you've got, and poof, gone, done. So how do you get off the X? Well, you don't need a lab coat to harden your household against this one. You need awareness and 3 moves this week. Let me give you exactly what to do. Number 1, diversify your protein stack starting now. Add poultry, fish, eggs, shelf-stable plant protein, which I'm not a big fan of, but get this stuff stockpiled up so if you get bit, you get diagnosed, all your food security didn't go poof out the window. And yes, sponsors like Carnivalt and Wasatch Wagyu still anchor the core of my plan, my family's plan, and many of y'all's plans as well. But having a parallel stack that makes the whole system survivable. Okay, next one, treat your outdoor clothing with, this is a tough one for me, permethrin, I think is how it's pronounced. We've got some from Sawyer, by the way. It's a really good product. And basically, you're going to spray down your boots, your clothes, and when you come in from the woods or a hike, you're going to check everywhere in your body to make sure you haven't picked up any of these ticks, and basically shower within a couple hours of going on your hike or going in the woods, whatever the case may be. Make sure you get these ticks pulled off with tweezers, as close as skin as you can get. There's some other, methods of getting them off as well. I'm not like an expert in that field, so I can't tell you what they are, but the key is, use that spray from Sawyer. There's other brands, but I don't have any relationship with Sawyer. I just like their products. It's 100% American made across the state here in Tampa. But at the end of the day, the bite is the only thing that you can kind of control when you're outside with these, sprays and whatnot. I'll tell you what, we have a home in Appalachia as well in the mountains, and then I'm worried about taking our dogs there next month, so we're looking into all the options for them as well. I'm hearing people having varying levels of success with different, chewables and collars and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not behind the curve on this one. You're right on time. If you move now, if you're watching this video and you move right now, you're in a pretty good spot. The other thing is to build a medical compatibility package into your family file tonight. So write down every prescription, every supplement, every capsule code in your, like everything that you take, it documented. So if you got, alpha gal, doctors will know what's safe, what's not safe. And especially if you've taken the blood test, it's called an alpha gal IgE blood test, but you should carry that list with your insurance card. So you get bit, you have the anaphylactic shock, an ER team, EMTs, paramedics can read that and hopefully save you. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. So I'll end this Rex video basically lock in your Carnivalt subscription prices for 12 months. So if you're concerned about beef because of alpha gal, you can stock up on chicken with them. If you subscribe, you lock in your price for 12 months. If you don't subscribe, use code EATMEAT, get 10% off one-time purchases. Wasatch Wagyu, by the way, have a promo on right now. Let me pull it up actually and show it to you here because it's pretty dang impressive. Let me go over to that desktop here. Check this out. So you can get 9 sticks of jerky for $29.99. Use discount code SD20. Takes it down to $23.99. That's $2.66 a stick. I mean, that's unreal for 100% Wagyu beef that typically sells for $100 a pound. Link down below for that as well. Discount code SD20 gets you 20% off. There's only a couple of us that have that, and I just want to quickly go back here to Carnivalt and show you their website, carnivalt.com. If you go to the menu up here, you can shop the store, and you'll see that you have a whole host of options. There's chicken in the middle. My favorite's the beef. I mean, I'm a beef kind of guy. I like high quality beef protein and steaks. You can get single serve packets. You can subscribe right here. Check this out. Off-grid subscription, $99. And that locks you in for 12 months. So, you should take advantage of that. For all the obvious reasons, right? Things just seem to be going screwy. So anyway, the panel will be back tomorrow evening with the next episode in our America Under Siege series. It's titled The Predators Emerge, and organized groups begin treating civil unrest as a business opportunity rather than a crisis to endure. Between now and then, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications. God bless our law enforcement officers. God bless our military. And God bless America. As always, stay alert, stay strapped, and get off the X. This is Chris Evans signing off. Godspeed, y'all.